Hi, ladies and gents. It's the show. It's the history show, and I think we've got a good one tonight for you. I think I don't think it should be interesting for you. It really should be interesting, and I don't know if you haven't heard of some of these people. I'm gonna say I always don't know where this little. Oh, there it is. There it is. And there they are. There I am here. Yes, yes. Look at these. Look. Enzo has dominated Arsenal's, Chelsea's, and now City's midfield, says the drunk Vigo. Drunk Vigo. This is a history show. History of football. Enzo got subbed off crying, says Vigo. And Daryl Merry, even and Frankie and Anthony. And with that little introduction, I'll bring my good friends in, international artist, the only man to have 100 pictures shown at once. Portraits, that is. And one of those little portraits was little old me. And the big, they're not little things. They're big, absolutely big. And Tony LFC, hello Frankie, just tuning in from Malta. God, blimey, he sent me a drink. And Lynn Ellis, hey, Frank and Anthony. That's great. And on that intro, I'll bring in the great man himself, my friend, everybody's friend. And here he is, Anthony. Good evening, Anthony.
Good evening, Frank. Good evening, guys. Thank you, Daryl. Good evening, Lynn. And you ain't so little, Frank. There's little old me. Where it, man? You biggest and greatest historian of the city, bar none.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. See, people are going, he's only saying that because he's his mate.
Well, we are mates, but there's no BS goes on.
No.
I thought that Friday night's program was lovely. It was really good. Where you were the first guest up.
Yeah.
And I thought, aside from you being great on it, that it was a really nice, refreshing, positive look at the city.
Yeah. I'm being honest. I never seen it, because where I live, the communal aerial's gone down, and I can't get any telly. So, but I don't know. I've been asking people if they'd seen it. No, we haven't. I only asked Francine. Anyway, see, I said, whatever you do, don't film me walking, because I'm hobbling all over the place. So they said, okay, yeah. Whether they did or not, I don't know. And I always remember I was down at the pier and I was facing the Maritime Museum, and I was standing with the lady who introduced, who fronted the show. And anyway, she said, and then we had to walk away. So I grabbed all, I never grabbed all, I just put my arm around the shoulder, and I walked away with it just in case. I was using it as a crutch.
That's on the clip. That's on there. It looked absolutely windswept on that day you were there.
It was a horrible day.
Windy on the front.
It was a really horrible day, because I was freezing and it was summer.
Yeah.
It was one of those, days that, the wind's blowing, but it was coming from the east where it's cold. It was a cold wind, and it was really cold,
I captured a few shots, a few screenshots, sent them through to you and Jason. Jason, good evening, Jason, magic. And there's one there, yeah, where it looks like you're on the top of a cliff. The hair going everywhere.
This is it, you know. When you go out to film these things, when I always remember I was filming for the BBC, and I'll tell you what I was talking about for the BBC Two. It was, and it was around the country, you know. And he came to Liverpool. And he asked me, and it was about dishes during the war. You know, when it was terribly rationed.
Yeah.
Terribly rationed, you know, throughout the country during World War Two.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm talking to the chef. Now the chef has to do the recipe that I was talking about, and what it was I was just talking about blind scouts, right? So again, we were down by the pier head, and by the Maritime Museum. So I'm talking away there, then all of a sudden a downpour came. Just hit us. Downpour. And anyway, we got into shelter, a little stupid thing, I don't know what it was, we was hiding from it. The weather, that is, the rain. And we seen this fella, and he was going across towards the Maritime Museum. He was going across. And I said to the shelf, because the camera was miles away, but it was away from us. We couldn't even see the camera, but we had these mics on. And anyway, I said to the chef, I said, look at that fella there. He was soaking wet, and he was, you know, like hurrying through, not running, but running, walking very fast. And I said, he's the image of Rod Stewart, him. And the fella, you know, the chef, oh yeah, he is, isn't he? Apparently it was Rod Stewart. He got caught in it out. He was appearing at the, remember the tents?
Yeah.
He was appearing there. That's where he was.
Yeah.
But he got soaking wet. I'll never forget that, you know. But the thing was, I was talking about was blind scouts.
Yeah.
That people, you know, because they couldn't get any meat. So
well, that's my favorite food.
Yeah.
That's no, yeah. Wow.
But it's surprising, isn't it? Really, you know that. You know, like what dishes went out in the war, you know, because of rationing.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah.
We did the, we did the blind scouts.
I remember stories of my granddad coming home with a rabbit, you know, and stuff like that to go in the pot. It's like whatever was available, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You know, it's those things, isn't it? To be honest, I'd never eat rabbit because to me, rabbits are rodent.
No.
It's a big rat with a big ears.
I once saw someone describe it, and he said, well, what does rabbit taste like? And he said, it tastes just like pigeon. And all the faces in the room went, oh my God. Well, what does pigeon taste like? Tastes like rabbit. That was me. No, I've been vegetarian for years and years, but that was the final egg in the pan.
Yeah. Egg in the pan. Yeah. Very okay. Good evening, Frank and Anthony. Good interview on Friday with Susan Kalman. Oh, thank you, Vera.
Really was. Good evening, Peter.
Evening, everyone, says Gary Rigby.
Evening, Gary.
Lynn Ellis. It's on catch-up, Frank. Yeah. My son's mum-in-law in Cornwall watched it, and she said, what a fabulous history the city has. Of course we have. And this is what I try to tell people about the history of Liverpool, as you know. And evening, Frank and Anthony, says Ian McHale. And here's our sponsor of the show. Hi, Frank, hope you're well, says Andy Gamble.
Yeah.
Andy Gamble, our sponsor of this show, which I'll be doing just a little bit later about what to do if you need some decorating done. Get these lads in. Gap Painting Services. And Gary Rigby, evening Tony. What a match yesterday. We were robbed by the cheats. The vase of flowers, Lee Carlson. Greetings and salutations to one and all.
Evening, Lee.
Lee. Gary Yorkshire, my husband's enjoyed the bride well. He's from Liverpool, and my great uncle was the chemist who sold Florence Maybrick. Go away!
Gee,
Wow, that's unbelievable. That Thomas Smokes at the pharmacy. He had on an Egbert Road. He then to give evidence in the Florence trial at St George's Hall.
Wow, what a connection!
Yeah, brilliant. I'd love that. Have I done the trial of Florence Maybrick? Do you know, Anthony? I haven't, have I?
On Florence.
Yeah, on here. I've never done it. No.
You did do it. It was mainly on her husband.
Oh yeah.
A third of the show was about her and her fortune, where she ended up. Which is not good.
But I didn't do the trial, though, did I? No. The actual trial of Florence Maybrick.
Not by itself, no.
No. Yeah, because people think that she was innocent, and other people like myself guilty as hell, because she was going around, as Vera said there, about a great uncle of hers selling flypaper, because the flypaper. Remember when we were kids, we used to walk into shops and we seen the flypaper, all those flies on stuck in them. Well, they had arsenic on.
Yeah.
And what Florence was doing, she was going around, not to just one place, she was going around to loads of places to buy flypaper.
Yeah.
And she was also buying lots and lots of rat poison. So anyway, Alice Yap, she was the nurse to the kids,
Yeah.
And she walked in one day into the room of Florence Maybrick, and she was going to empty water, because there was no taps in those days. You're talking Victoria, in the bedroom. They used to have a bowl and a pot, a jug rather, to get a wash first thing in the morning. And she went in, and she seen a cloth over the bowl. So when she took the cloth off, to empty the water, what she seen the flypaper, lots of the flypaper in the bowl.
Sediment.
And when you lift the flypaper up, all the segments of the arsenic, was on the bottom.
Yeah.
All the sediments. So that was it. That's how she poisoned them.
So that's an interesting one for you. For you personally, think that she could have done it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because why would you go around buying flypaper, not out of one shop, but loads of shops?
Yeah.
She was going around buying it, and she was getting all the arsenic off it.
I was kind of a mind where she didn't, and that the evidence was kind of not flawed, but heaped against her, including the judges summing up.
Yeah.
But it might be a fascinating one to revisit it again, with just that in mind, and no real mention of my only saving thing would be that did she find out what her husband was or who he was?
Oh, yeah.
his.
Well, I know I filmed it for someone. I forget who I filmed it in St George's Hall years ago.
Yeah.
And I was doing the Florence Maybrick one, and some other. Oh, the what one was it? It was the oh forget the book. Forget it. It came to me then. What I filmed two back to back for
Yeah.
this. I forget who it was. But
Well,
it will come back, it will come back to me.
incidentally, just to Lady Susan had a segment where she filmed in St George's Hall
Yeah,
and walking up those eerie steps, and sitting there, which Lainey and I had done with you many years ago, and it's a feeling that doesn't really leave you because it's a
yeah,
narrow, claustrophobic space, and you
yeah.
come up into this light, and it's like immediately you're met with the solemnness of the jury and the. Ooh,
Do you know what? I'm not honestly. Remember Jake, don't you? Jake Abraham.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and he's just passed on, as you know, a couple of months ago.
yeah,
And Jake, I was doing a talk uh, in the courtroom. William Wallace was the trial I was doing on film.
right, yeah,
William Wallace, right?
yeah,
The man from the Prue.
yeah,
And strangely enough, I was doing a talk to these people about William Wallace, and this is what happened. Jake said, "I'll come down." He said, "I want to listen to this." He said, "I think that there's going to be a play or something, a film or something, a TV series
and there
about
was.
Florence May. No, about Florence Maybrick." He
Oh
said,
right, no,
"No, hang on." He said there was a series about. Um, there was a series about William Wallace. He said a
yeah,
few years ago with Jonathan Price. I said, yeah, I
that's
know.
right. That's what I
And he
remember.
said, they might be doing one of Florence Maybrick,
Wow.
the same company, you see. He said, so I'll come down and see how it performs, I said, yeah, all right, yeah, no problem. And this is what happened. He came down and it was shocking. You know the way they all sit around, in the main court,
Yeah,
criminal court.
yeah,
And anyway, Jake comes in and he's late. So I'm talking away and I sees him out the corner of my eye. So he walks up. Now I'm talking away like this and he's over there to my right.
yeah,
And he comes up and I see it and he sits down on his own because he's right at the end. So I'm talking, to the audience. I'm talking there, I'm talking there, I'm talking there. At the back, trying to get eye contact and whatever. And this is what happened. Jake, he's just sitting there, and then he looks around quickly. He looks around quickly, and then he looks over. He goes and he looks right over, and he's looking, and he's sitting there again like that. And then he goes again, like jumps, and he's looking around. So anyway, at the end of me, what I was doing, we all coming out and people were talking to me. So Jake was waiting for me,
yeah.
and he came over, and he said, "That was good, that." And I said, "I seen you jumping about. What was wrong with you?" And here's what he said. Here's what Jake said. He said, I was just sitting there. He said, I was listening to you, and the next, someone like as though they went by me. And I just turned, and I thought, oh, no one's there, it's me. He said, Then again, someone blew in my ear.
Oh.
Right? And he said, I jumped and I looked again, no one there. And then less than a minute later, they blew in my other ear. They blew in
Wow.
my other ear. He said, and that frightened me. He said, I didn't want to get up on it because, you know, it could have disturbed people, could have disturbed your talk. He said, so I had to sit there. And he said, it frightened me because there was no one there. There was no one there. And he felt a presence after the blowing in the ears. Like he felt the presence at the beginning that there was someone there. That's where he first looked.
Yeah.
And he said, it frightened me.
Wow.
He said, and as soon as it finished and they all rose, he said, I rose and got right over to the middle where all the people were. He said, I was frightened.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's
a little haunting story there.
yeah. A touch from beyond the veil.
Oh yeah, because one time I was bloody hell. I was given this is mad. This I was given a talk, and again in the criminal court, and I was talking about people who are being tried, but were innocent and found guilty and sentenced to death. I said, you know, it's happened lots of times ever since, you know, trials began at this court. Yeah. So anyway, I was talking away, and normally I always used to bring them down. I'll tell you when it was. I was asked to give a series of lectures every Tuesday. Sorry for itching. I've got this thing. Anyway, a series of lectures twice a week on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And it was during the renovation of the hall, right?
Yeah.
And they all started to come in. And so I went from the April to the September when the hall finally shut. So I was given these series of lectures in the courtroom. And I always, like, you know, whatever I was speaking about, but I was speaking about trials. I used to get the group and bring them down to the holding cell, you know, where the condemned were held.
Yeah. No.
So I used to bring them down there. I had to go first to make sure everything was all right, clear, and health and safety, in other words.
Yeah.
So anyway, this day, I walked down the steps. And it gets to the bottom where you open the door. Now, the door was a very flimsy door. It was one of those very flimsy. And the next was, it was horrible because I tried to open it. And I couldn't open it. For some reason, it was though that someone was pulling on the other side. Someone was pulling, you know, the way, like, you know, so you've experienced it before, you know, someone on the other side, you know, keeping hold of the door and you stuff and let go. Well, this was like that, and it was pulling it. And I looked down to see if there was a wedge or anything. Nothing, absolutely zilch there. So anyway, I said, this is strange, this. So I let go. Now, as you know, no wind or anything comes down there, you know, where you are at the bottom of the steps where that door is. No wind whatsoever. No draft, no nothing gets down.
No, it's like dead air.
It is, yes. It's very still air. And then I was pulling it that much, and I let it go, and it slammed like that. And I went. So anyway, I pulled it again. And it happens again. It's as though someone, and I said, oh, this, and let it go. And I just came up, and I said, listen, ladies and gents, I said, there's something wrong down there. I said, I can't open the door. Someone could be down there, but I doubt it because the place is completely empty. We're the only people in here. Except for a few workers that work here themselves. Members of the St George's Hall staff. I said, but there's no one there. I said, I can't open that door. Someone seems to be pulling on it. That's all I said. And I was made up that there was a young person there because they were mostly, above middle age. I'll just say that, the audiences that used to come down. And there was this young fella sitting there. He said, hey, I'll go down and have a look. I went, no. I said, but you know what young people are like. They take no notice of what anyone says. He said, no, I'll go down, but he had to pass me. I said, no, lad, don't go down. But he was determined. I said, look, lads, it's health and safety. I could get into trouble if I let you down there or something happens. And he went, oh, no, I'll be all right. And he shoots down. 20 seconds later, the lad is he must have been about 20, that age, around late teens, early 20s. So I'll just call him 20. And he came shooting up, ran past me, and ran out from where, we were entering the court. We were entering, and he shot at. Never ever seen him after that, because when it finished, obviously I couldn't go back down, and the people couldn't go down. So when I went out, I asked a few of the lads if they seen someone running out. They said no, never seen him. So he just shot out. Now, why did he do that? He looked frightened.
Yeah.
Frightened.
Could have been.
He just ran past me.
Even with nothing happening like that, in that staircase, and in those hallways downstairs where you're describing, where the cells are, where the holding cells are, where people lost their lives. It is intimidating on a bright July day, sunny outside. You walk in there and you immediately are pressed by something. And it's not the only place in the city, as you know. You've been around all of them, but it's I think the fact that it's unexplainable sometimes when stuff like that happens, which is what shakes us up.
So you can't really. This is madness. You can't really, visualize what happened. It was a strange thing. It really was a strange thing, especially when that lad ran out. Yeah. And me, like before then, trying to pull the door open just to get the because I'd go up and say, come on, let's go down, let's show you the holding cell. And so that was frightening, to say the least. That was frightening. Anyway, I'm gonna do, I'm sorry there, people, but I just want to talk about, I hope I can get them on, Gap Painting Services. Is RJ still there, to put up the thing? I can't get them on. Anyway, it's just a good evening to DW there. Thank you, DW, for popping in.
Thank you, DW. Good evening to you.
He's a nice fella because I go on these particular things,
Yeah.
Sites. He likes history, does DW, and he came on, and it's he's a nice fella. He said, I watched you on the show. I said, oh, great, join us if you'd ever come on. Anyway, I want to talk about people Who won these?
Yeah.
Who won these? Where are we? Victoria Crosses.
Yeah. The select
Incredible.
few.
Yes, indeed. What you've got these lads, and you've got these lads who are very, very brave, very, very brave. And to think that, look, I always, I've said in many lectures, I've said it lots of times, imagine, use your imagination. The problem with using your imagination, it's not real. And people really don't understand what they go through or what they went through at the time. It was horrible. If you look at like the First World War, for example, you've got the First World War where the opening line of one of Wilfred Owen's poems. Now,
Yeah.
Wilfred Owen, he wrote about the horrors of war.
Yeah.
He didn't write anything about, patriotism or anything. He wrote about the horrors. He was making statements.
Yeah.
And the opening line of even the title, Anthem for Doomed Youth,
Yeah.
Anthem for Doomed Youth. You think about that title,
Yeah.
it's an anthem for doomed youth because they were going to the depths.
I first read that at age 17, and that stayed with me right up until I was 48 when I
Wow,
acted on it and I did the painting of him. But
wow,
such a powerful. You could imagine um, journalists weren't allowed to report anything, where the war correspondents weren't allowed to report the horrors,
yeah,
and he got through because it was in poetry. And years after the event, we find out the horrors. We're still finding out the horrors of war. We're still living them now.
But you done a portrait of him, didn't you, Wilfred Owen?
Yeah, I vowed when I was a teenager. Um, there was a guy I started art school when I was 16, straight out of school into art school, and it was a bit of an intimidating thing at first, and you just strike up conversations with people, and there was a guy there, and I can't even remember his name. God love him. I think it was John. John gave me just gave me a book, and it was a paperback book, um, anthology of war
And
poetry.
yeah, brilliant. I've got it here somewhere.
And that was my opening to it because I didn't study them in school.
Yeah,
More shame on school, But um, and I read that first, and that was the most powerful thing I'd ever read about it. And at the time, we were virtually untouched as kids in England watching TV. It was the wind down of the Vietnam War, or they were trying to wind it down. It was still active, but so that was the only warfare that we were seeing,
yeah,
which of course was not real to us because it blended Hollywood into reality, and then Hollywood took over, um, and then
yeah. But Hollywood is Hollywood, isn't it?
that
But
well,
anyway, what has happened? It was the anthem for doomed youth, anthem for doomed youth, and the title says it all. But the opening two lines of that poem sums everything up. What passing bells for these who die as cattle? Because what he's saying is France is a slaughterhouse,
Yeah.
and young British lads, not just the British, but also the French and everybody else. What passing bells, and this is from the church, you know, the ringing of the bells as they're going through to certain death. What passing bells for these who die as cattle? But it's also the bells of connotations of, you know, cows with bells around it,
Yes.
warning, you know, the people
Yeah.
that the cows are there or whatever, you know, if they think they're lost,
All
you know.
lined up and headed to go in a direction.
Exactly. So, and it also has connotations, if you think about it, of the death knell.
Yes.
What passing bells for these who die as cattle? Incredible opening
Yeah.
statement it is, really, not just a couple of lines in the opening of a poem. But that's the way it is. You know, further down it says, and each slow dusk, a drawing down of blinds. Remember when we were younger, I don't know about today, when someone had died, they drew a blind down, didn't they? Or just put a white sheet up
Yeah.
to say, you know, in the house that someone had died in the house.
Yeah. Alternatively, curtains are drawn.
Yes, well,
Yes.
that came later.
That still goes on now. Still goes
Yeah,
on.
yeah, but that's the way it was, you know, back then. And each slow dusk, a drawing down of blinds, because what he's saying there, a telegram comes given
Just,
to the occupants of the home,
yeah.
and then they read about the demise of the son or the husband or
Yeah.
the dad, and he draws down the blinds.
Yeah.
Each slow dusk a drawing down of blinds. So that's every single day. And no one could imagine it. And one of the lads who won this was one of the, it's a, his name, and he comes from the Will, came from the Will. And he was with his lads, he was with his mates. He was only a private himself, but he was with his mates. And they had to cross this canal, which was chest high. So they had to go, you know, you can imagine them walking with the rifles above their heads, you know, wading through this particular canal. But they were being pinned down by the Germans, getting killed, and but they still had to get through because you can't turn back, as you know. So this fella, John Davis, he went like that. He said, see, what he had in his mind, it's either kill or be killed. We're going to get killed anyway. So he said to the lad, just stay there. And he said, what are you doing? I said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm going up. I'm going to take on the Germans. He said, you must be mad. He said, well, we're going to die anyway. We're going to die. So he waded over. He got to the parapet and he got up. And he ran up to this little machine gun post that had pinned them down, you know, pinned down. And he jumped in to this machine gun post. Then all of a sudden a shell came over. And then there was a plume of smoke. And the lads got through. And he was awarded the Victoria Cross posthumously.
Oh.
Because they said killed, when he was mentioned in dispatches, and they seen a plume of smoke, and they seen him no more. So anyway, he was awarded the Victoria Cross posthumously. And what has happened, this lad, there he is. There he is, John Davis.
John Davis.
Right? Now, his parents, there was there was a juxtaposition between pride and happiness about their son receiving the Victoria Cross, the highest medal you could win, the highest, and also devastated at the same time. He lost his son. Never see him again. So at the end of the war, they received the telegram as usual, and about his demise. And at the end of the war, there was a knock on their door, and the mother of this John Davis went to the door to see who was there, and as she opened the door, she was looking at this lad who was standing there, and it was her son, John Davis. And she, if you could imagine how she felt opening the door, thinking that her son was killed, receiving a Victoria Cross posthumously. Because what had happened, obviously he wasn't killed, he was taken prisoner. That's why the soldiers, the lads, his mates in his regiment,
wow,
says he died because they never seen him after that. He was just taken prisoner.
Oh my God.
So he was the only man to win a Victoria Cross posthumously, yet live to the
wow.
There he is.
Oh my.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Absolutely unbelievable. Miraculous. That, he lived to earn a respect from his actions, his behavior. That's wow.
Yeah, I think it's really a great story.
Yes,
it really is a great story.
Absolutely.
And when you see these lads, and the bravery is incredible. Yeah. But I want to talk about, we know about Victoria Crosses. And then when you think about Liverpool and Liverpool lads, born and bred, winning Victoria Crosses, how about this fella? Now, this fella, he was born in a workhouse. And they didn't know the girl's name who gave birth to him because she was feverish. She banged on the workhouse door. And they let her in. Anyway, she collapsed. And she was feverish. But little did they know, with all the, the Victorian dress, shall we say.
Yeah.
It's all like sticky out, isn't it? You know. And anyway, they said, "Oh, she's pregnant because she was out cold. She was feverish, and it was thunder and lightning." And anyway, she gave birth. She gave birth to a young boy, a little boy, a baby boy. She gave birth, but there was a problem because she died, and they didn't know her name. They never had a clue who she was. They say, "Do you know her?" No, because she just banged on the workhouse door, you see. So what had happened was, it was this kind of, how can I put it? How can I put it? It was a kind of, it was strange because they didn't know what to do with the child. And they thought that the child was going to die. They thought the child was going to die. So what they said was, let's rush it over. They got the vicar because the workhouse has a chapel inside the grounds. So they got the child, they got the vicar, and they said, listen, can you baptize this child? They said, yeah, what shall we name him? He said, oh, we don't know. We don't know what to name him. We don't know what to name him. And there's the workhouse that he was born in. So anyway, the vicar said, well, okay, where's the mother? Well, it's dead. The mother's died. We don't know who she is. Because he is expecting the mother to name the child, you know, whatever.
Or have a surname or something.
Yeah, yeah, you know, just give him a name.
Brownlow Hill, Frank.
Yeah, that's Brownlow Hill. So what had happened was, he said, well, okay, we'll call him, seeing that we're baptizing him, we'll call him after the Baptist. So they gave him the name John. And then he said, we'll give him a surname, Kirk, which is an old Anglo-Saxon word meaning church. So he was named John Kirk. Now, what happened to John Kirk? And here's what happened. Now, workhouses, as you know, were very, in other words, you worked because you were in there.
Yeah.
You worked because you were in there.
You work to live.
Yeah, you work for this shelter. And you work very hard. You work to up to 18 hours a day. 18 hours a day. And there used to be a saying about the workhouse. The only time you'll ever get out of there is feet first. Feet first. Meaning, you know, you'll be carried out.
Yes, yeah.
Carried out.
Virtually done.
Yeah. So this lad, as a young boy, he grew up in the harshness of a workhouse environment. No education, no nothing. The only thing that you got was going to, like, education was like going to church on a Sunday. It was compulsory. You had to go to church. And that was it. And it was a relief, actually, to have a rest from what you had to do in a workhouse. And they were rat infested. There was terrible places, cockroach infested. But he escaped. He escaped, John Kirk. He escaped the harshness of the place, and he got down to Lincolnshire. How he got there, no one knows. And to save life, when he got there, he had nothing. He was a little vagabond. So he joined the Lincolnshire Regiment as a little drummer boy. He made him a little drummer boy. Then he progressed to being a rifleman, right? And then he was sent over to India by the Raj. The Raj. It was, the Raj means, rule. And this is the imperialistic establishment, which is still imperialistic today, might I add, of the establishment, making sure that the Commonwealth or the Empire was put in its place. So that's why we sent troops over to India, just in case any uprisings. And there was an uprising, and it was by the Punjabis. Now the regiment's captain, he had his own place, with servants. He had his wife, he had a couple of kids, and he became under attack. And the staff sergeant was wanting volunteers to go and rescue the good captain of the regiment, and his wife, children, and servants. And John Kirk volunteered. John Kirk. Now, John Kirk wasn't a well man, by the way. He suffered from a debilitating disease called narcolepsis, where you slur your speech, and sometimes you just, wobble about.
Yeah.
So what had happened was, he gets to the house of the good captain, where he fought around 2,000 Punjabis. 2,000 Punjabis. And they rescued the captain. They rescued them. And the children, his wife, and the servants, and got them to safety, got them back to the barracks. And he was mentioned in dispatches. And this was in 1857. And he was awarded, because of the dispatches, because of the bravery, because of everything, and rescuing the captain's wife, children, and servants. He was awarded the Victoria Cross. And in 1860, 3 years later, he went to receive it over in London from India. And what has happened was, he was on parade this day, and the captain looked over and he went, "This man's drunk. He's drunk." Because he was staggering about, but he was also falling asleep, as they thought, and he said he was drunk. And if you were court-martialed in those days, you were executed. For any menial crime, you were executed. To be shown as an example, you should not get court-martialed, you should do your duty. And to be drunk on parade, and to be asleep, that was one of the worst you could do. Anyway, he was court-martialed, and he was found guilty, and he was sentenced. But he wasn't sentenced to death because he hadn't yet received his Victoria Cross. So they said, "Well, what shall we do? Give him 50 lashes. That will kill him anyway." So he was given 50 lashes as punishment. On the day he was receiving his Victoria Cross, he had to stand to attention. And the Queen came up, Victoria said, "Yeah, lads, how about that? Yeah. That's yours, that. Let me pin it on you." And it was pins on him. It was pins on this man here, John Kay.
Wow.
It was pins on him. And what has happened, because he was court-martialed, found guilty and given 50 lashes, after receiving his Victoria Cross, it was taken away from him by the regiment, and he was dishonourably discharged. And he had nothing again. Nothing. He was left destitute, a Victoria Cross holder. And the best thing that he could do was to make his way back to the home where he was born. And that was Brownlow Hill Workhouse, where he made his way back, where he was born, and it's where he died. John Kirk, with his Victoria Cross.
Tragic.
Very tragic. Very tragic.
At a point shortly after that, where someone realised that the regiment had made a mistake. Did he ever own up to that?
No, it was a long time after that, when he was diagnosed, I don't think it was ever known then about narcolepsy. And then so he did this thing and said, no, he's suffering from narcolepsy. Years later. John Kirk, buried in Anfield Cemetery. Anfield Cemetery. Well, I think we're going to have a break now with all that fine thing, and I think we are.
Thank you for bringing it to life.
I'll see you after the break.
See you after the break.
This is the Collegiate of Shaw Street, a very famous place of learning. Today, there are fancy apartments, but at least it's still here. And just around the corner from the Collegiate is its neighbour, SFX, St Francis Xavier's School. And the two of them, the two wonderful buildings, are linked to our next hero. It's a funny place, Liverpool. You'll always find a place of tranquility, and this is Whiteley Gardens here on Shaw Street. Peace, birds singing, beautiful day. Now that's what George Gabriel Curie longed for in the trenches during the 1914-18 conflict. George Gabriel Curie, born Liverpool in 1896, and he was educated at St Francis Xavier's School, Salisbury Street. Then at Stonyhurst College, Ribble Valley. Now, he was an apprentice in the cotton trades in the Albany in Old Hall Street. And when war broke out, On the 4th of August 1914, he was commissioned into the Pioneer Corps as a second lieutenant. The Pioneers, what's the definition of the Pioneers? They never get the credit that they richly deserve. Now, what the Pioneers did, they actually repaired the roads. They went out into no man's land and dug the trenches for an advancement of the Allies, brought the ammunition up, even the barbed wire. The Pioneers' job was really hazardous because they came under immense fire continually. And on the 8th of August 1916, at a place known as Arrowhead Copse near Julemont, the Battle of the Somme was raging. Curie and his men advanced into no man's land under heavy enemy fire to dig trenches for the advancement of Allied troops. He completed his mission, but with heavy casualties and the wounding of a CO. He went out again into machine gun swept no man's land in order to bring back his wounded CO. In broad daylight, in full view of the enemy and extreme heavy fire, he brought back his commanding officer. This conspicuous gallantry earned Curie a Victoria Cross. He was promoted to full lieutenant from second lieutenant. He was transferred from his regiment to the Royal Flying Corps as a pilot and promoted to captain. So what happened to George Gabriel Curie? Well, he survived the war. He came back to Liverpool and he wanted to go back into his own cotton business in Old Hall Street, but unfortunately that had collapsed. So he had no job. So what did he do to provide for his family? He opens a chippy called the Chip Pan around the corner from St Francis Xavier's School, his old school, Brunswick Road. And there he was, happy as Larry, serving his customers with his fish and chips. Then the Second World War broke out and he enlisted yet again. And what did he do? He actually landed on the 6th of June 1944, D-Day. What a survivor this man was. Survived the First World War, the Second World War, and finally he did get his call. And in 1956 he died, and he's buried at St Peter's and Paul, Crosby.
Wow.
About that?
Absolutely remarkable gentleman he was. Wow. And how humble to come back from the horrors of war and open that to be part of life again. The chip shop.
Yeah.
And then enlist again. Man.
Yeah. I'm going to show you a little slide here. He went into the Second World War, you know.
Yeah.
Did they say that? Did they mention that?
Yeah, yeah.
And he was there at Normandy D-Day.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Just you can't go there, can you? And why there's not a movie about him? You know.
Well, because. But what about this? What do you think that still's from?
That still is from Oliver Twist.
Yes.
And I am drawing a connection between what you've taught us tonight and what Charles Dickens committed to
paper. Yeah. And that Channel 5 want me to do this in the future. All about the birth of John Kay and the connection with the birth of Oliver Twist, because that put the seed into his head.
Yeah.
And his mother died. Oliver Twist's mother died in the novel.
Yeah.
And the benefactor of Oliver Twist in the novel was Mr. Brownlow. Brownlow Hill.
Yeah.
And then the 40 Thieves who Dickens went to see on the docks as a special constable were known as the 40 Thieves. And they became the catalyst for Fagin's gang. So that play, I've written a play about it.
Oh.
And, I was putting it on. Jake was going to direct it and star in it as well.
I remember you mentioning it in the past, yeah.
And it's sad. It's sad. It's really sad that we're putting it on in the June. We had the cast, we had everything, we had the tickets to sell, and it was going to be performed in the concert room of St. George's Hall, where Dickens actually gave his penny readings.
Yeah.
So it was going to be performed there, a reflection of Dickens. And this was the reflection that he was talking about. He was going to be the narrator, then there was going to be the actor,
Yeah.
And about the birth of John Kirk.
Yeah.
And what he achieved.
It's still got to go on at some point, Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had the backing then and everything, but COVID it. Couldn't do it. It stopped a lot of things, COVID.
It is.
And we all know how phony it was then.
Yeah.
And we could have put it on, done it. It's sad. So sad. I'm just, excuse me. Excuse me. I have to get that away. It's so sad that Jake had actually not got to direct or star in it. Would have been ideal. And he wasn't playing John Kirk, actually. He wasn't going to play. But it's the way it is.
But that's when it does happen, because it must happen. When it does premiere, then Jake is very much to talk about him.
Yeah. But as I said, it's just one of those things. And the Boughs of Flowers, Lee says, I never knew the extent of Dickens's visit Liverpool links until I met Frank.
Yeah.
Love Liverpool.
Yeah.
His favourite hotel in the whole world was the Adelphi, but not the Adelphi, today's Adelphi. It was the original Adelphi. He said it's the finest hotel.
Yeah.
The finest hotel. So that's our boy there. That's him.
Right.
And to think, when it's just amazing, the history, of Liverpool, some of the most fantastic. And some of the most, go on.
And you feel the history. It's like watching you on Friday night in the wouldn't call it a documentary, in the program. When you go to these places, like when you go to the Bridewell, when you go to the cells of St. George's, and I've not been to Williamson's tunnels, but that too was in the program, and you get a sense of wow, just enormity, really, and we get that because we were lucky enough, Lainey and I were lucky enough to go on with you on formal talks and informal talks, and we've been to pubs, to buildings, to everywhere in the city. There's history, and thank God it's still there. Bits of it are still there.
Yeah, there's so much, and there's so much again about these particular
hole in the wall. We nearly got there for round 2. We'll get there in the summer.
And there's John Kerr.
I have never seen that before.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful, isn't it? Headstone.
Absolutely.
And this man, John Barney Hines, he was born Johannes Heim, and he was born around the bottom of Scotland Road.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Around the bottom of Scotland Road. And his parish church where he went to was my school, St. Joseph's, stroke Bishop Goss. He went to my school as a little boy.
Wow.
And as you can tell by the name he was born with, Johannes Heim, he was German parents, but he was born in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And at the outbreak of war, First World War, they changed the names. They had to, because the animosity shown against the Germans at the time was horrible. So they changed the name to Heinz. So he became John Hines. Barney is an inverted name. It was a nickname. So John became, Johannes became John, and Hein became Hines. And he tried to join the army. They wouldn't allow him because he was a bit of a tearaway. And he was going to sea. He went away to sea, and he was always causing trouble. He was just nuts, this man.
Yeah.
So anyway, he gets to Australia. He gets to Australia, and when he found out that the war was on, he joined the Australian army, and he did. But he was sent to France, where he was fighting the Germans. And he had these I forget what you called them. I really forget what you called them, Anthony. But you threw them around around your neck or over your shoulders, and you just threw it like grenades. They were, but they were explosives. And he used to just throw them into the trenches of the Germans, blowing them up. And he used to collect trophies. So he was nicknamed as Barney the Trophy Man. And there you see the trophies that he got from the Germans. And this is what kind of a fella he was. He was a nice fella. Don't get me wrong, but a bit of a maverick, shall we say.
Yeah.
And he feared nothing. So they used to just allow him to, run up and throw these, I forget what you call them, just throw these things at the Germans, and the Germans were terrified. They couldn't get them. They couldn't sniper them, a machine gun them, or anything. They just seen them running up to them, just lobbing in these things. Absolutely mad. Honestly, absolutely mad.
Did his family remain in Liverpool, Frank? Do you know when he would have come over in the wave of immigrants as your family and possibly mine did?
Yeah.
Did they remain in Liverpool?
Yeah, they remains, yeah.
They weren't forced out.
Yeah, but he has a couple of siblings as well here, sisters. He actually got married here. He has a couple of kids. But he wanted to, join the war. And he was just going away to sea anyway. So when he had the opportunity to join the Australian Army, that was it. He joined it. And anyway, he got through. He got through the war. He wasn't awarded the Victoria Cross or anything. But it was just a story that he was an incredible soldier, a scouser.
Did not Australia reward him with a version of the?
Well, what they actually did, I forget where it is. Unfortunately, he opens up it's going today with a statue and a park named after him somewhere in Australia. There's a big park. I don't know whether it's Sydney or somewhere, but anyway, there's a park named after him. The John Hines Park. So it's there. So that's, he was a hero to the Australians.
He survived the war.
Yeah. He died when he lived to a old age. He was, I think, 78. He lived until he was 78.
Yeah.
John Barney Hines.
Wow.
The Scouser.
What a guy.
Oh, he was unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's why he was called a trophy man. Look at him there.
Yeah. You can see the helmet and the bullet strip.
Yeah. And the shell.
The shell, yeah. My God.
Captured in a German shell. On the back with a German shell. Absolutely amazing.
Hope that's a dud, Barney, or you're not getting on the boat.
But you have these. Now, when I said about, poems.
Yes.
Now, what you've got to think of about poems is this.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, no matter what profession you're in, you'll always take great aspiration and inspiration from other people's work. It's like, that I'm a specialist in architecture.
Yes.
And I always say, don't I, when I've got groups of people, that architects take great inspiration from other people's work.
Absolutely.
When you look at the neoclassical buildings, for example, St. George's Hall and the rest that go down William Brown Street, that's all inspired from Rome and Greece.
Yeah.
So they were inspired to do something like that. All the architects.
Yeah.
Who built these unbelievable buildings.
And it's the same in across the whole creative realm. It's the same in art and in music and in literature.
Yeah, everything is inspired by other people, and so it's like being a role model. You take notice of your role model. Now, this fella, I'll just say this. This scepter dial, This precious stone set in the silver sea, this fortress built by nature for herself against the envy of less happier lands, this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England, this teeming womb of royal kings. Now that was John O'Gaunt and this famous speech about England. So that was one of his favourite speeches, Rupert Brooke.
Yeah.
And he was a Wales War One poet. So where I mentioned about Wilfred Owen, which I'll be talking about a little later, he wrote a poem, and it was called The Soldier.
Yeah.
And in every single music hall and everywhere else, this was always read out by a great actor or whatever. And sometimes they had women saying the poem. And it's called The Soldier. And it goes like this. If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam, a body of England's breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by the sons of home, and think this heart all evil shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind no less gives somewhere back the thoughts by England given, her sights and sounds dreams happy as her day, and laughter learnt of friends in hearts at peace under an English heaven. Now we wrote that, but the great inspiration was this sceptred eye, the John O'Gaunt speech.
Yeah.
So it inspired him to write something patriotic.
Yeah.
You know, for if I should die, think only this of me.
Yeah.
See, and it's just called The Soldier.
Yeah.
Now he died in 1915, Rupert Brooke. He became ill, and he actually died in Greece. He became ill, young man, great poet. There he is.
Yeah.
An handsome devil, if you like, an handsome young devil. And he died.
Yeah.
But his poem lives on, The Soldier.
His work lives on. It becomes in a sense immortality when like Dickens's work.
Yeah, like Shakespeare's work.
Yes,
absolutely. Like Shakespeare's work. It became, and yes, you know, it's a great poem, and it really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we put that up.
Jason.
It's great, Jason, isn't
it? It is. And it is, I think it is a marvellous poem. I struggle myself glorifying any sense of warfare and death, which of course is.
And there's Wilfred Owen.
Wilfred Owen.
Now you've got the juxtaposition.
Yes.
You've got the juxtaposition between patriotism and horror.
Yeah.
Patriotism and horror. But the horror, you'll also show patriotism.
Yes. Yes.
And he wrote a poem, and the title came from one of the great Roman poets called Ovid. And it was called Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori.
Yeah.
And that's the poem that Ovid had written.
Yes.
And Ovid had written it's very similar to The Soldier, very similar to John O'Gorn's Shakespeare speech.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. You know, it was all about patriotism. But Wilfred Owen, he has another plan, another inspiration. And it goes like this. Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed coughing like hags we curse through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turn our backs, and to our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep, many had lost their boots, bloodshot, all went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas, gas, quick boys. An ecstasy of fumbling fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone was yelling and floundering like a man in fire or line. As under a thick green sea he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch his white eyes writhing in his hanging face, like a devil sick of sin. If you could come and hear at every jolt from the fraught corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud of vile incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie, dulce et decorum est, pro patria mori. See what he's saying, he's given the horrors and the pain and everything else in the content of his poem.
Yes.
And as he says, the old lie, how sweet it is and everything else to die for one's country. It's a lie. In fact, it's horrible, it's painful, and it's obscene.
Yes.
So you see the way it is, you know, from the soldier to the horrors. Now, Wilfred Owen's poetry wasn't published until 1929 to 1930. So it was a good, 10, 12 years after the First World War ended. They thought that there wouldn't be another war, you see, so they published them.
Yeah.
But it was the horrors. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And because it wasn't the authorised account that the establishment wanted putting out.
Yeah.
Which is you know, we still fight that demon censorship now. With warfare and conflict. But
and look where the portrait is. Oh yeah, I never noticed that. You've got the soldier in the background, the pole behind Laney.
Yeah, it was the start of an exhibition, 2011. That was in the War Chapel of the Anglican Cathedral, and it was the start of a project which didn't fulfill its objective, not because we didn't want it to, but because we couldn't get the backing to move it forward. And it was Wilfred was the figurehead of the whole exhibition, and it was to be in honour of, as you've done tonight, to those that we have met and lost or known and read about in conflicts. I'm not glorifying war, and I would never do that, but there's Wilfred there. The Manchester Regiment.
Do you know what's so sad about his death? He was sniped on a bridge
Yes.
approximately 7 days before armistice.
Yes. Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah. And his last letter, which was written in their dugouts the night before that crossing of the river, arrived with his mother the same time as the letter to say he died on VE Day, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the sad thing. And there's the poem that
That's,
they don't put that up.
well, we were so fired with that poem and with Wilfred. As I was painting the piece, we knew we wanted it to go on somewhere and become bigger than just a painting in the gallery. And we approached our good mutual friend Roger Phillips and asked him would he narrate a piece of Wilfred's work, which was going to be the soundtrack to a movie of me painting the work. So you start from a blank canvas, you work piece. And unbeknown to me, really, Roger's idea for the soundtrack piece was that poem, and he did it incredibly well. So it's out there somewhere on YouTube, and it's called A Soldier's Story, and the painting of Wilfred Owen. And that Roger narrates that, and it
Well,
was.
he's got the voice, hasn't he?
He's got the voice and the presence, and he's got the respect and the passion
Yes.
for that and other wonderful works. As yourself have, I have respect for it and stuff, but I'm nowhere near capable really of fronting an audience with speech. I could chuck paint at them, but not words.
I can chuck paint. Well, anyway, what are you like? Anyway, I want to talk about. Look at that, Gary Rigby. Great show, Frank. Interesting stuff. Thank you, Gary.
I totally agree, Gary. Brilliant, interesting stuff.
I'd like to talk about a fellow by the name of William Radcliffe. Now, William Radcliffe, he was a veteran of the Boer War in South Africa. The Boer War, right? So anyway, he comes back to Liverpool, gets a job on the docks, and the First Wales War breaks out. So he goes to join up, and he went, "Oh, behave yourself, you're too old. You only want you." He said, "I want to do my duty. I'm a soldier, I'm an ex-soldier." And he went, "No, you can't." And he said, "Well, there must be something I can do." So he said to him, "All right then, how about being a stretcher bearer?" And he went, "That'll do me." He said, "Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that." So he became a stretcher bearer in no man's land.
Wow.
No man's land.
Petrifying.
So what he used to have to do, he used to have to go out and get the wounded back, and the dead. He used to have to get the dead as well back.
Yeah.
And anyway, he became under heavy fire this day, and he was getting his wounds back, and he got them back. And he was awarded the MM, which was the military medal, which was, just a step below the Victoria Cross, because it was on par with the MC, the military cross.
Yeah.
The military cross. Because officers got the military cross, and ordinary soldiers, ordinary sappers, they got the MM.
Military medal.
Yeah, the same medal, yeah, but it was just the military medal.
Yeah.
Whereas it was the military cross to the officers. So he was given that. And the general who put the medal on him said, "You'll end up getting a Victoria Cross." That's what the general said to him, as he was putting the MM on.
Yeah.
Because he was going into no man's land. Getting the wounded and bringing them back. So this time, 1917, he was out searching for wounded, getting them back. And he hears a loads of machine gun fire. And when he looked over, what he'd actually seen, he's seen these lads pinned down. He's seen the lads pinned down. And they were getting killed. And it was this machine gun post. And as he was looking over, he was actually kneeling down to this young kid who'd just been killed. Young British soldier. He's just lying there, dead. And his hair was over his, this is the child, this is the kid. His hair was hanging over his forehead. And he looked at the kid, looked at the machine gun post, looked over at the lads who was being pinned down. And he just brushed the hair off the lad's forehead, and went like that too, and said, "Your death won't become in vain." And he picked the lad's rifle up, because don't forget, stretcher bearers had no arms. So he picked the lad's rifle up and charged the machine gun post. And he took them out. He took the Germans out. And he shouted over to the lads who were pinned down and being killed. Some of them. He said, "Go on, lads, go on, you can get off. You're all right now. No more fire here. Go on, get off. So they went. And he was mentioned in dispatches. He was actually mentioned in dispatch. He just carried on. He just brought that lad back, put the rifle down. He went back for the rifle. And because he picked the machine gun up, the German machine gun, forgot to mention. And he just started spraying where the Germans were. And then when all of the bullets went to that, he just threw it away, told the lads to get off, and you're all right now. Went back to where he went back to where the stretcher was, where that young lad was. Put the young lad on the stretcher, got the lad's rifle, by the way, and brought him back. And he was mentioned in dispatches. And he was awarded the Victoria Cross.
Wow.
He was awarded the Victoria Cross.
And rightly so.
Yes. And after the war, he came home. And he went to live with his sister, never ever married. So he went to live with his sister in St. Oswald Gardens. His sister and her husband. And unfortunately, they died. And he was just there on his own. And every morning he used to go out for a paper and a walk. And kids used to see him, and people. Hello, Mr. Radcliffe. Hello, boys. He used to just go, and he's a very modest man. And he did that every morning. He always walked and, you know, around and whatever. And then after a few days, no one had seen him. Nobody had seen him.
Oh.
And people got worried. And they informed the police. And when the police, you know, forced their way in to the home of where he was living, they found him dead.
Yeah.
Just found him dead.
Wow.
So, you know, a modest man who'd been through 2 wars, don't forget, he was in the Boer War.
Heroic.
First World War. And he was awarded the Victoria Cross.
Wow. Is there a monument to him in the city, Frank?
Well, I wanted, where he was born, you know, there's a big Tesco on the site of St. Oswald Gardens.
Yeah.
Well, I actually wanted a plaque on there saying on this site, you know, stood St. Oswald Gardens, where
It's the home of
Victoria Cross, the home, of William Radcliffe of Victoria Cross. And fully enough, got a letter here, right? And it was written to me. I brought Sir Terry Leahy around with American counterparts. And it was a lovely letter. And he said about, you know, bringing them around. And he said, I asked him when I brought them around Liverpool. Smashing it was. Brought them around. And he was with these, as I said, American counterparts. It's the letter there, got off them. Very posh letter as well. But anyway, he said, I said to him, and he said, yeah, because who he was the head of Tesco's. He was the main man, and he was also an economist for the Labour government, the Sir Terry. And he said, I'll see what I can do about that. Yes, I will see what I can do. The unfortunate thing, I think he took ill, and he had to leave Tesco, and it never got done.
Oh.
He had to retire, never got done. Which is sad.
Absolutely.
So William Radcliffe, one of the greats.
Yeah.
But, you know, there he is. William Radcliffe, and there he is with his military medal that he won, and the Victoria Cross. 2 of the greatest medals that you could win. And there he is, William Radcliffe.
Amazing, man.
It is, isn't it? Such a hero.
It's such a pity that the regimental forces don't jump on this and work with you.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many avenues of funding, and it deserves more than a blue plaque, to be honest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But one of the greatest ever to win Victoria Cross, and they're all great, don't get me wrong, I'm taking nothing away. But there was one man who was mentioned 15 times in dispatches. So therefore, this man could have won 15 Victoria Crosses, because if you had mentions in dispatches, normally you got yourself a Victoria Cross, just like the lads I was talking about there. But this man came from a big family. He was a twin. He had twin sisters. And he also had two sisters. Right? Two brothers, sorry. Twin sisters and two brothers and another sister. And his dad was the Bishop of Liverpool. And his dad lived in Abercrombie Square. And that's where this fella lived and all the kids. So when war broke out, every single one of them, including the sisters, joined up. The sisters became nurses on the front. The other sister, the twin sisters, that is, were on the front as nurses. And the other sister, she couldn't go anywhere because she was married to a vicar and had a couple of kids, so she had to look after them. But what she did do, she used to send parcels over and, knitted scarves and gloves and socks, and that was her effort.
Yeah.
And this fella's twin, he joined the army, as did his two other brothers. They joined the army, and they were doing their duty. Yeah. This fella was a surgeon at the Royal Southern Hospital.
Yeah.
And when war broke out, he joined the Liverpool Scottish. And his name was Noel Shavas.
Yeah.
Now, Noel Shavas, what you've got one of the greatest of all. I don't know. He was a humorist, He was a humorist. I think it had to be, to be honest.
Yeah.
And do you know who his mate was? His mate, you're going to love this, Anthony. His mate in the army, in the Liverpool Scottish, was none other than a fella who went over to Hollywood and he became a massive star. Yes. Basil Rathbone.
Wow, I didn't know they were connected, but I knew of Noel's history and Basil's history, and it's wonderful that it's the Liverpool Scottish that they were. Do you know what?
Go on.
Just as an insert, Laney's brother Mark, who was a pipe major for many years, Mark was the lone piper that piped the Liverpool Scottish Regiment out when they do what they do. They fold the colours, fold the flag, and there was a small, and I say tiny, service at the back of the Liverpool Town Hall, and no great press, no great media coverage, but it was a remarkably sad experience to know that he did it, and he did it on his own. A handful of people there, civic dignitaries, some of which you've met along the way. That should have been.
Yes.
Packed with thousands of people.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm so sorry to interrupt, Frankie.
No, it has to be said. We're worrying about that. It has to be said.
That's no true.
And there's the man himself.
A great man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when war broke out, now don't forget, just a few years before, in 1911, there was a general strike in Liverpool. And the government sent up the government sent up 50,000 armed troops into Liverpool and armoured vehicles to quell the strikers. They only went on strike for the fabric of life because it was terrible. The wages were terrible. Everything was terrible. We were living hand to mouth, everybody. We were all living hand to mouth. This is 1911. And there was an imminent, we didn't know, obviously the ordinary people didn't know that, but there was an imminent war going to start anytime. And at the time, and who was the first Sea Lord was Churchill. And he said, we can't be having this. We can't be having this. These strikers. It could cause anarchy. Just like last year in 1910, miners went on strike for more money. Miners. And when he was asked, Churchill, these miners are on strike, well, what shall we do? He said, only a first Sea Lord. And he said, what are they on strike for? He said, well, they're hungry. He said, they're hungry. Well, fill the bellies with lead. That was his answer. Churchill. So Asquith, who was the Prime Minister, said, what will we do? So that was the idea, sends up 50,000 armed troops. And they asked the police, they said, well, listen to the Liverpool police, that is, listen, you'll have to sort this out. They said, we can't sort it out. We have to live with these people. They're only on strike. Because they were afraid to say, as I said, there was an imminent war, but no one knew about the imminent war. Only the government, nobody else, no one had a clue. And they didn't want anarchy. So Churchill said, okay, I'll tell you what I'll do, because he's the first Sea Lord. He sent up to 2 frigates, which were battleships, frigates with big guns, to train the guns on the city of Liverpool. So with the police, reneging not to, provoke strikers, he said, okay. So they sent for 6,000 police from Birmingham and Leeds into Liverpool to sort out the strikers.
And they killed a few, didn't they, Frank?
Yeah, they shot 2 dead, yeah. In Upwood Street, where I live. Upwood Street, just up the road here from me. Anyway, what has happened, when it was all over, they got nothing. But what Churchill said was that the strikers were the most unpatriotic scum on the face of the earth. Right, but when the war, this is what I'm saying, when the war broke out, so the most unpatriotic scum were the first to enlist.
Yeah.
And there was a 2-mile queue, 4 deep, 2 miles of lads, these so-called unpatriotic people, to sign up, enlist, which they did. And on the 1st of Lord Derby, incidentally, he made up a regiment called the Liverpool Pals.
Yeah.
the Liverpool pals. But there was a knock-on effect with these particular pals regiments up and down the country, because they liked the idea. Because what Lord Derby said, he said, lads will be going over to France, instead of there mingling with strangers, let them go with the pals, people who they know, to fight the Germans. And they said, oh, that's a good idea. Hence, the Liverpool pals and the Leeds pals, Manchester pals, and all these other pals from around the country. So it was a good idea, according to some. And that lad, Noel Shavas, surgeon from the Royal Southern Hospital, he enlisted in the Liverpool Scottish, where he was sent to France. And in one battle, he went out into no man's land. And when he went into no man's land to bring back some soldiers, wounded soldiers, he just took his Glengarry off, his hat, and he just put us on a stretcher or something, and he went out and he was bringing back. He brought 19 soldiers back.
Wow.
Got the stretcher bearers. He said, "Come on, lads," and he was going around, got them, and he got 19 wounded back out of no man's land. Got them to safety. He operated on a few. And then 1917, there was another battle. And this other battle, these lads got to a German line, and they were dug in. In this trench, German trench. So anyway, there was lots of shelling from the Germans, and it hit this trench where there was terribly wounded lads, dead obviously as well. And Shavas got there, and he was operating on them. He was looking after them.
Oh.
And they were saying, "Sir, go back to." He said, "No." He said, "I'm looking after the men. I'm looking after my men." And he looked after them. And unfortunately, another shell came through. As he was, looking after these lads, fixing them up, operating on them. And it wounded them, terrible wounds. And he got back, they got him back to the clearance station where, they operated on him. And he was lying in bed. And he wanted to get back to his men. And he said, "No, I've got to go back." Now, don't forget the first battle with bringing back these lads, these wounded. He was awarded the Victoria Cross. He was awarded it.
Rightly so.
And this battle, with the shells, I can hear it clicking. Anyway, with the shells and operating them, and then he was seriously wounded, and he was brought back to the clearance station. All he wanted to do was to get back to his men. He said, "You can't move. You've got to stay still. You know how bad you are." And he said, "I just need to get back to my men. They need me more than you need me lying in bed." That's what he said. And there was a nurse who was, believe it or not, his nurse, as he was a surgeon in the Southern Hospital, the Royal Southern Hospital.
Oh.
And she was his nurse looking after him while he was wounded. And he said, she said, no, you're not going back. You're going to lie there until you're better. Unfortunately, the next morning, he was found dead.
Oh.
He died. So he was awarded the second Victoria Cross posthumous.
Wow.
His twin brother, Christopher, he was also a war hero. And he was awarded the MC, which is, you know, just one down from the Victoria Cross, the military cross.
Yeah.
His brother Bernard, also an MC. And he has a younger brother, Adrian. He was the baby of the family. Unfortunately, he was killed. And his name is on Menin Gate in Belgium. And that was that. So he was awarded the Victoria Cross posthumously. He's the only man in the First World War. He's not the only man to win 2 Victoria Crosses, but he is the only man to win it in the same war. In the same war, you know, there was other lads who, 2 other lads who won in different wars, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And he was such a brave man. Such a brave man was Noel Shabazz. He was a 1908 Olympian.
Yeah.
Do you know he ran in the Olympics? He was a great runner, great athlete.
Wow.
But he was also a bit of a humorist as well. You know, he has a great sense of humour. Him and Basil Rathbone used to play tricks on each other.
Yeah.
And what pride there is. Look at that.
The brilliant Tom Murphy who sculpted that, wasn't he?
Well, I got Tom the commission, you know.
Well done, Frank. That's fantastic. I couldn't think of anyone could do it finer than that.
But what has happened, strangely enough, I was on with Tony Snell, and I said, listen, you know, can I put something out? And he said, what? He said, it's not an advertisement. I said, no. I said, I want to start a campaign to have a statue built for one of our greatest lads. He said, who's that? I said, Noel Shabazz. Double VC. He's a very proud, you know, Liverpool lad.
Yeah.
So anyway, he says, yeah, okay. And anyway, it was ages after he said to me, how's your campaign going on? I said, well, you know, I've put us out there. It'll be fantastic. Then these other lads got hold of me and said, you know, we'll help. And they came from Hale Village. I said, oh, this is great. Yeah, it's smashing. So anyway, I said to Tony, I said, the only man who should be doing the sculpture, I said, is Tom Murphy. I said, Tom Murphy would be great to do this because he's so lifelike.
Yeah.
Lifelike. I said, so it'd be ideal.
Yeah.
So anyway, one of Tom's relatives had heard me saying this.
Yeah.
So Tom got hold of me through Merseyside. I had a meeting with him. And I said, yeah, I said, would you go down to a meeting? I said, you know, these lads are there, you know, the campaigners and, you know, the fundraisers, and they're doing everything to get this statue done. He said, yeah. So we came down. And to the meeting, we went a couple of times. And they said, yeah, do it. They said, yeah, do it. So anyway, he did it. But I fell out with the thing. It was all, I don't know what it was over now. But I went like that, oh, that's enough of you lot. You know, to the lads of Hale.
Yeah.
because I used to have to go down all the way down there. I said, if it's up here where I live somewhere, I said, do you realise how far it is for me to travel? And anyway, I'll tell you what it was over. I was with this, at the time, I was with this lovely lady. And she used to bring me to all the meetings. And anyway, I used to bring her in, you know, because they used to have the meeting upstairs in the pub. And they said to me once, listen, you know, you won't be able to bring her up anymore. I said, up where? He said, here. I said, are you kidding me? I said, do you realise where we've travelled from? And you're saying, she drives me down here. I said, yeah, do you want her to sit in the pub where she knows nobody? Are you kidding me? And he went, well, you know, they're the rules. And I said, oh, are they the rules, are they? Well, you're in the rules. And I walked away.
Yeah.
And you know what? Now, don't forget, I started all that.
Yeah.
I started everything, even got Tom Murphy on board to do that, what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even invited to the unveiling. How about that?
I think that's the saddest and sickest thing, but it's not surprising because this is what
And even Tom Murphy said to me, you know, he said, listen, Frank, I seen him at the Good Turns with Ken Dodd. When we used to go to Good Turns, when Ken was alive, he was the chair. And I was talking to him. I said, hey, Tom, what did you promise me? You remember? And he went, yeah. Because what he promised me was a maquette of, you know, a small statue of John Lennon. I love Lennon, you see.
Okay, yeah.
And he said, oh, yes, John. He said, well, come and see me. I said, Tom, how can I come and see you? Still waiting for it. Never ever got us up.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
After getting in, you know. But, you know, again, it's just like, how can you really not bring, you know, not invite anyone down? He started it. Without me, you wouldn't be looking at that. Tom Murphy would never have done that.
It's that old thing, Frank. It's just out of sight, out of mind. There's, you know, and it's horrible. And they would be mortified if you left them out of stuff. But
oh yeah. But I just went, it's like the Gates. Me and a lad from over the water named Phil Griffiths, we got the Gates back.
Yeah.
We detected where the Gates were.
Yes, the old sailors' home.
Yeah, the Avery weighing thing down in the Midlands. We detected it, and we fought tooth and nail to get them back. And all these people from everywhere, all these, you know, who are you? They would all go, oh, listen here, you know. So I went like that, oh, sod this, I'm off. And I just walked away. And I never got invited down for the unveiling of that. It's just crazy. But anyway, that's life, as I've always said. I never got, the only thing that hurt me really was the John Lennon thing. I was looking forward to getting that.
I'd still get it. Never say never.
Yeah, but I don't see Tom now. But that's the end of it. Well, listen, mister, I've got to say about Gap Painting Services and Gap Painting Services. If you ever need, honestly, you've only got to look at the description here. And Gap Painting Services is a fantastic service. It really is. If you're an OAP, if you're an NHS worker, great discounts. But even if you're not one of them and you need something doing, painting and decorating or whatever, just get them in because they're very, very reasonable. Don't be struggling with, trying to get things done and whatever. Just get these lads in and they'll do it in no time for you. Fully time served, fully insured, quick, reliable, tidy, everything. It'll be done without you having to worry about paint splashes or anything like that. Just get it done. Just get it done by Gap Painting Services. And they also do commercial also. So, just get them in. They're a great company and they sponsor. And I'm not just saying that because they sponsor the Frank Carlyle Show. They're just great people. And all I've got to do now is thank that man there, sitting there, with his little glasses on, like Frank, Anthony. And there's Anthony's there. Look, search Facebook, Instagram, or Google for Anthony Brown, artist.
Thank you.
See some of his work. See some of his work. And there's Lennon in front of him. You can actually see John Lennon, which is absolutely magical. Magical. And you just seen, didn't you? Wilfred Owen. Imagine Wilfred Owen. Unbelievable. Owen would be so proud, you know what I mean, to be recognised years later, 100 years later. Unbelievable. And next week we've got Derek Shelmerdine on Anthony for his Rock and Roll Unravelled, which will be good. It'll be good. So what did you think of tonight's show, mister?
I absolutely love tonight. I'm humbled, to be honest, Frank. I'm humbled to listen to the stories the history that you told. But some of it I thought I knew, and the details of some of those heroic gentlemen is like, it's humbling. Whatever you think, and Noel Chivas was to be the next Wilfred portrait in the series, but we never got that far.
Yeah.
It should happen. Yeah. We just need somewhere to put him, and your gentle kick in the butt, I will do it, and we will make it happen.
That'll be great because there's a statue too.
Yes.
And a portrait. It'll be absolutely brilliant because these people deserve. There's lots of people who deserve mentioning. It's the likes of William Radcliffe I've mentioned.
Absolutely.
I've mentioned even last week. Remember when I mentioned a fella named Atkins who opens up the very first zoo in the world?
Yeah.
In 1831.
All of these people do need, and I am not one. You hear a lot of people who say, "Oh, we can't do that thing because we haven't got a budget." You may have never had a budget for anything we've done. We just go out and do it, and then if it lights fire, it takes off. Sometimes it doesn't take off. It's unfortunate, not because we don't care. It's just because we can't physically or financially make that thing happen. But I really, the more I speak, and the more I'm on the show with you, and the more we have contribution from the wonderful people watching, it's saying to me, I personally want to do a series of people that need to be remembered.
Yeah. It's like a girl. We hardly mention girls, unfortunately. But one of my heroes, Liverpool lady, is Mary Bamber. And Mary Bamber she went around, I mentioned the 1911 general strike, and she went around giving lads sandwiches. Well, not sandwiches really, but rounds of bread and little cups of soup and cups of tea. And even the, we call them the homeless today,
Yeah.
But they were known as tramps, used to feed them as well. Mary Bamber. And she was such a lovely, lovely lady. And, one of the suffrage girls, really, but she wasn't in the suffrage movement. And you knew who she was. Shall I tell you who she was? Or the mother of, became the mother of Bessie Braddock.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And in that 1911 general strike, a young 12-year-old girl was helping Mary Bamber, and that was her mother. And the girl, the daughter, was Bessie
Braddock. And there is a woman of immense importance to this city. Frank.
And these are people that
you'll have to do a show upon them. I mean, they're the same vein of strength as Kitty Wilkinson was. And
well, it's like anything, though. In all honesty,
women of the city.
Yeah, well, we can say many things. I've mentioned a fellow by the name of Thurston Holland.
Yes.
Who did the X-ray machine. Thurston Holland.
And thank gosh he did. And we're all going through that,
Yeah. Mother and daughter. There's Mary Bamber. There's a daughter, Bessie.
Well done, Jason. Brilliant.
And look what Churchill said about her. Fancy waking up next to her looking at you. He was horrible, misogynist, sexist, racist.
Yeah.
Horrible man, Churchill. People loved him. I didn't. If they know the history behind him.
I don't. I have a list on this blank piece of paper of people I will never, ever, ever in my living days or further on paint or even consider painting. He's top of the list.
He's one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of them.
And I'm glad
of that. Well, listen, I've got to shut the show. I really, Anthony, we've got Derek Shelmers on next week.
That's great. I'll wear me disco suits on me.
Yeah, wear your John Travolta white suit, And
give it a go.
Anyway, tomorrow night, people, we've got the Frank Carlyle. No, we haven't. We've got the LFC Liverpool football show, and got some great guests on tomorrow. George Scott, the lost Shankly boy. He'll be with me tomorrow night, and we'll be talking about obviously the draw. We should have won that, we were fantastic. But anyway, that'll all be spoken about tomorrow. And the other guests as well. The other guests. So we'll be all talking about that, and also we'll be talking about what team would you like to pick, if you like, for the game against Prague. Do we play all the big boys or do we rest all the big boys? And that's what we'll be discussing tomorrow night. I've just got to say a big thank you to my super guest there, my little mate, Anthony Brown.
Thank you, Frank. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you. Thanks for the education.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Anthony. And also, I've got to thank Jason, because Jason is a great producer.
Absolutely.
Doesn't like football, though. He doesn't like football, though, Anthony.
Well, he likes all music. That's good enough for me. And books.
But he does, he loves the history and everything else. And he's so good at finding things, for mentioning something. Just like Mary Bamber there. And her mother, and her daughter, Bessie. See what I mean? And that's what he's like. Just found it, bang, put them up. and it's beautiful. But anyway, I've just, most importantly, and without the chatters, the people who look at, without you, there'd be no Frank Carlyle Show on a Monday night. They really wouldn't. And I just have to thank you for tuning in. And if you want to subscribe, cost nothing, just subscribe. Get the algorithm out there, especially for the football. Especially for the football. And it's just for me to say thank you. Anthony, thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Jason.
And thank you, Gaps Painting Services, for sponsoring the Frank Carlyle Show. And also all you chatters out there, thank you so much for joining me. And hopefully I'll see all you football fans tomorrow night. Thank you. Good night now. Good night.